There's a particular cruelty to nighttime overthinking. All day you cope. You work, respond, solve, distract. But the moment your head touches the pillow, the mind that seemed manageable at 3 p.m. suddenly becomes a courtroom, a catastrophe simulator, and a greatest hits compilation of embarrassing moments all at once. If you've ever felt physically exhausted but mentally wired at night, you're not broken. You're human. And more importantly, this is something you can change. During the day, your brain is task-oriented. External demands give it structure. Emails, conversations, deadlines, errands, they all direct your attention outward. At night, that structure disappears. There's no distraction competing with your thoughts. The brain naturally begins reviewing unresolved experiences. And because you're tired, your mental resilience is lower. A fatigued brain is worse at rational thinking and emotional regulation, which means small concerns can suddenly feel enormous. Nighttime doesn't create anxious thoughts. It simply removes the noise that was keeping them quiet. The goal isn't to stop thinking. That rarely works. The goal is to lower mental activation and gently shift your brain into safety mode. One of the most effective ways to calm your thoughts at night is surprisingly simple. Get them out of your head. Your brain replays worries because it doesn't trust you to remember them tomorrow. It keeps looping because, in a strange way, it's trying to be helpful. Keeping a notebook by your bed and doing a brief mental download before sleep can make a significant difference. Write down what's bothering you, what you're afraid of, and anything you need to remember. You're not solving the problems. You're transferring them. Once the thoughts are on paper, your brain receives the signal that they've been stored somewhere safe. If a new worry pops up after the lights are out, jot it down briefly again. Think of your notebook as an external hard drive for your mind. Another powerful shift is learning to create distance from your thoughts rather than trying to suppress them. When you tell yourself to stop thinking about something, it often rebounds stronger. Instead, try noticing the thought. I'm worrying about tomorrow. I'm replaying that conversation again. This subtle change separates you from the content of the thought. You are not the thought itself. You are the observer of it. That shift activates a more reflective part of your brain and reduces emotional intensity. Because racing thoughts are often tied to a slightly activated nervous system, calming the body can help calm the mind. Slow breathing is one of the simplest ways to signal safety. Try inhaling slowly for 4 seconds and exhaling for 6. The longer exhale is important because it stimulates the body's calming response. Do this for a few minutes without striving for dramatic relaxation. You're not trying to knock yourself out. You're simply softening the edges of alertness. At night, the brain often slips into problem-solving mode, even when the problems are unsolvable at that hour. You can gently redirect it by giving it something neutral and mildly absorbing to focus on. Counting backwards from a high number, mentally listing animals or cities alphabetically, or imagining yourself walking through a familiar, peaceful place can act as a cognitive anchor. These aren't distractions in a negative sense. They're stable points for your attention to rest on. The mind cannot catastrophize and alphabetize at the same time. What you expose your brain to in the evening also matters. Intense news, emotionally charged social media, or stimulating shows keep the nervous system activated longer than you might realize. Creating a short wind-down buffer before bed can make a noticeable difference. Dim the lights, reduce screens, and choose calmer, predictable input. Think of it as psychological hygiene. Just as you wouldn't sprint immediately before trying to sleep, it helps not to flood your mind with stimulation right before bed. When catastrophic thoughts appear, it can help to gently question them. Nighttime thinking tends to exaggerate. You might catch yourself thinking that if you don't sleep, tomorrow will be a disaster, or that a small mistake has permanently damaged something important. Ask yourself whether this line of thinking is helpful right now. Ask whether it's completely true. Ask whether it can wait until morning. You don't need perfect answers. You just need to interrupt the spiral long enough for your nervous system to settle. One of the most counterproductive habits is trying to force sleep. The harder you try, the more alert you become. Sleep functions best when it's allowed to arrive naturally. If you've been lying awake feeling frustrated, it can help to get up briefly and sit somewhere dim with something calm to read. Return to bed when you feel sleepy again. This retrains your brain to associate the bed with rest rather than struggle. If nighttime overthinking is frequent, it's worth looking at the bigger pattern. Sometimes night simply reveals what the day has been hiding. Are you overloaded? Avoiding decisions? Consuming too much stimulation? Drinking caffeine too late? Scheduling even a short period during the day to think deliberately about your worries can reduce the urge for them to surface at midnight. When the brain knows it has a dedicated time to process concerns, it becomes less desperate to do it at bedtime. It's also helpful to remember that your mind is not attacking you at night. It's trying to protect you. It scans for threats. It anticipates problems. It reviews mistakes in the hope of preventing them. The issue isn't that your mind works, it's that it doesn't always know when to stand down. Your role isn't to silence it harshly. Your role is to signal gently and consistently that you are safe enough for now. Calm at night is not a personality trait reserved for certain people. It's a skill. And like any skill, it strengthens with repetition. Each time you write your thoughts down, slow your breathing, create distance from a worry, or redirect your focus, you are teaching your brain a new pattern. You are not failing at rest. You are learning how to transition from doing to being. In a world that rarely switches off, that transition is not automatic. But it is learnable. And with practice, your nights can begin to feel quieter, steadier, and far less hostile than they once did. Now, if you found this video helpful, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. And for more insights, don't forget to subscribe.